Greetings, folks. Two and Proper here, bringing you yet another in my series. Another. Geez, you would think I had Bill Gates' money, but that is not true. I've actually sold my house and my cars to be able to make these videos, just for you. Now, doesn't that make you want to support me on Patreon when it's coming up? Anyway, so and as you can see, this is a good strong box. Oh my gosh, how many different firearms manufacturers are making a good strong metal locked box? And what a beautiful feature, a locked box for this firearm. Very good job, North American Arms. To have a locked box is an outstanding feature just for the box alone. So let's stop talking about it and let's get a look at the firearm. Oh shit, stupid lock. Anyway, here it is, the North American Arms Wasp. And as you can see, the box is much bigger than the firearm. This box may even be able to be used for other firearms other than your Wasp. I don't know. I've got to try it. This, of course, came with its instruction manual, that other NRA documentation, and of course it comes with this catalog which details all sorts of things that you can get for your North American Arms revolver. They're 22 series. North American Arms makes 22 revolvers. So holsters and belt buckles and grips and key lanyards. Wow, the belt buckle thing is what really gets me. That's kind of cool. So a very good catalog that comes with it. Now this is a 22 Magnum revolver, which you know, it's a lot stronger than people think. As a matter of fact, I think it ranks right up there with 454 Casull in power, right? It is a very small rimfire round, but if you stand 5 guys in a line, they all drop like dominoes when you pull out the North American Arms mini revolver. So let's get a look at the pistol. Enough of the box, which, by the way, again, I can't say enough for this box. The revolver itself, this is a very nicely made revolver. Let's get a good close look at it. As you can see, this is pretty finely made, very nicely machined. It's got very good tight tolerances, a stiff but great quality hammer. The action is just really smooth, and the trigger, which we'll get to in a little bit, it's probably about a 8 or 9 pound trigger pull. It's a good stiff trigger pull, but for this single action only revolver where you have to actually remove the cylinder to load it, well, we'll get to all of that. It'll be a very good thing that you have a good stiff trigger on this thing too. So don't expect a hair trigger on this. I think a firearm that loads and unloads like this firearm should not have a hair trigger. So I think that was well done by North American Arms, and it was probably thought through. And this firearm comes with this laser engraving, this laser etching here. Well, actually, this isn't laser etching. This is actually dug in. This is milled into the metal. Nicely done, nicely colored, and this is quite a pretty firearm. Oh my god, I'm muzzle flashing you. Better grab your families and run to the basement. So let's get a look at this thing. First of all, how do we change the cylinders and stuff? Because that's one thing that people would probably want to know is, how do you load it? How do you reload it? I will first discuss the safe carry method for this revolver. Like a lot of other revolvers, this has a half cock. Just like that, right? Now this is not in safe carry, right? This if you had rounds in here, there would be a round chambered. To get to your safe carry, you can see that there's these little notches right here. See these little dashes? They're all over. What you gotta do is, while you're in half cock, you still pull your hammer back just a little so you can spin your cylinder freely. And you look for one of those smaller dashes like that one right there, right? See it? And you bring it into line. Got to pull your trigger. So you've got to be very careful if you've got live rounds, because you have to pull your trigger, and then your hammer will go into one of those dashes, and then will settle in the all the way seated position right here. So that's not half cock anymore, but it is in one of these safety cuts that are all over. So your hammer's not resting on a live round, and that's a good touch. Now the reason I was telling you that it's a good idea that the trigger pull is stiffer on this firearm than on a lot of other firearms is because to take the cylinder out, whether it's loaded or unloaded, it requires you to put the firearm in the half-cocked position, just like this. So you can see I'm not seated all the way forward anymore. You've got to bring your hand up close to the muzzle of this firearm. You got to push this spring-loaded button right here and pull your pin out, right? So there's your pin, and this is also your empty shell ejector for when they stay in the cylinder, and sometimes they do. That's exactly the way you need to do it with this thing. And then your cylinder just kind of rolls out, right? So now you've got your 22 Magnum cylinder out, which actually I think the whole time this has been the 22 long rifle cylinder. You can see that L up there, right there. That's the 22 long rifle cylinder. And we'll go ahead and put the 22 Magnum cylinder in, and we'll put some snap caps in. So to load it, you put your rounds in the cylinder by hand, just like this. I do not think they make speed loaders for these just yet. They'd be cool if they did. But you load them in just like that. You want to put your cylinder in from the right, just like this. All right. Get it in position, and then you want to get your pin, which the flat surface on this pin is going to go up towards your barrel. You can see where it's cut with a groove just like that to fit into your barrel. And it's got a little spring bead right here. You want to push your button right here while you're pushing the pin into the cylinder, and then click it into place. Disco. Now we can talk about the trigger and the hammer. The hammer and trigger on this revolver are both very stiff. So your hammer, there it is. Now you've got a round ready to fire. And it is a stiff hammer. It's pretty stiff, right? But it's very precision made. I mean, this is very tight, very precise. I love it. Very nicely made. And your trigger is right here. And as you can see, there's no trigger guard on this firearm. I don't think that there's much of a need for a trigger guard on this one. And it is probably about an 8 or 9 pound pull. Let's bring it up close. Right. Very nice, though. It's a great trigger. And the mechanisms for this, you can just tell that there is a lot of good work going into this little revolver. And it frankly wouldn't surprise me if I didn't know that this firearm was about $250 if it cost a lot more, because it is just so nicely made. Now the 22 Wasp comes with these Hogue rubber grips. I love Hogue rubber grips. However, from that very catalog, I, being the princess I am, need things fancy and got the rosewood grips for it, right? I'm going to be putting these on pretty soon because I like things to look nice and pretty, just for me. And those are going to go on. But I do like the Hogue rubber grips. Won't be getting rid of those. Look at the finish on this thing. Let's spin it really slow and show style. Look at that. Wow, folks. It's a really nicely made gun, you know. And it's not an expensive gun, of course. It's a very inexpensive firearm. Now to eject your empty casings, you put the firearm into the half-cock position again, push the button, pull your pin, roll your cylinder out, and they should all come out. Of course, they're all going to come out with this one because this is the 22 Magnum cylinder, and oftentimes some of your rounds will stick, as is typical with a lot of revolvers, and that's what the pin again comes in for. You can just poke your rounds out just like this. That's exactly the way this is designed. You're intended to do this, so you're not going to hurt this pin. And of course, putting your cylinder back in is a breeze, so put it in the position, get your pin flat side up, right? Push the button, disco. Now this is a very good novelty firearm, and again, this might have limited defense potential because it's just 22 long rifle, 22 Magnum, and that's not the most powerful round. It's not the most advisable round for your primary defense weapon. I would say that this is a very good last ditch weapon. Maybe it could fulfill the role like you are carrying it so that you have something much smaller, much less noticeable, and kind of a conspicuous type of environment. You don't want to carry a larger firearm, so maybe this would fit in that scenario. And frankly, folks, really, this is better than having nothing. any firearm is better than having nothing. So don't listen to those GI Joes out there that are telling you you've got to carry around a 454 Casull, because it just isn't necessary. But I would not consider this to be a primary defender for me, at least anyway. I'm going to go with at least 380 or above. But this is a fun gun to shoot. Now, one thing that I noticed between 22 Magnum and 22 long rifle is that when you shoot your Magnum guns, they print on your target. And as you can see, I'm not that great a shot, but I'm never that great a shot. They print on your target circular, just like most of your other firearms. They're coming in straight. But with 22 long rifle, I did notice that there is some degree of keyholing going on. See that? When your round is kind of slanted like this, kind of elongated, when it's not hitting perfectly circular like this one did, that's keyholing. That means your round is probably hitting sideways. And I've got to believe that that's because 22 long rifle is a smaller in circumference round than the 22 Magnum, and that's probably where your difference is. Now, that's not a deal breaker for me, because if I'm going to carry this thing, I'm going to be carrying 22 Magnum, and if I want to shoot cheaply, I'm going to be shooting 22 long rifle. So there you have it. And the recoil when firing this firearm, as you might suspect, is noticeable between 22 Magnum and 22 long rifle. And I'll start this footage here with 22 long rifle. You can see that the recoil's not too bad. Not too bad. It's not exactly flying out of my hand and hitting my neighbor or anything like that. It's going pretty good. Very easily controlled. And then when we go into 22 Magnum, well, the recoil is a little bit more substantial. You can see that there's quite a bit more muzzle flip. And that is going to reason, since there's a lot more powder and stuff in the 22 Magnum. But again, this is fun to shoot with both rounds. It's not a painful round to shoot, the 22 Magnum, from this. This only being, of course, 6.5 ounces. In addition to the 6.5 ounces, the barrel is 1.63 inches, right? So that's a 1.63 inch barrel. This is 5.13 inches long. It is 2.81 inches high. It's only 1.6 inches wide. And this is a revolver, so that's not too bad. And again, 6.5 ounces. So this is a light little thing. Now, I also did some size comparisons with this handgun. I did the Glock 42. As you can see, the Glock 42 is substantially bigger than this, and the Glock 42 is considered to be a tiny weapon. I also did my Walther PPS M2. Then I compared it to another revolver. Here it is next to the Vindicator, which of course I had to put it up next to the Glock 19, which is a compact firearm. And these are all smaller firearms that I am comparing it to with this thing. That's how small this is. So this is a noticeably small firearm. It's going to be very easily carried should you decide to carry it. And again, folks, it's better than carrying nothing. It's better than being out there all defenseless when you go to your liquor store. And of course, again, this is an attractive firearm. Very nice looking firearm. Quite a pretty little revolver, this. And from that catalog, again, since I'm the princess, I got my rosewood grips to put on here. And I also took the liberty of getting this here Desantis Holster, which has a zip open pouch for 5 extra rounds. I kind of like that. And this fits in here well, right? Just put it in there. So this is very small. Put it in your purse, put it in your front pocket, because this is a very small package. And of course, that'd be 2 small packages in my pants. And this is a very easy firearm to carry. So again, for me, this is here for novelty purposes primarily. But this will have a limited defensive role for those cases where a firearm this small and this light would be warranted. Nothing wrong with that. It just will not fulfill my primary carry role. But other than that, folks, this is it. I'm pretty much digging this so far. This is a hoot to shoot. This thing is a whole lot of fun. And a lot of people would think that shooting 22 Magnum from a revolver this size would not be that fun. It's really not bad. It's actually quite fun. And what a novelty, this thing. But I'm liking it so far. And of course, this is not the premium review. This is just the introduction. There will be a lot more shooting. And Tattooed Cat's got to get his hands on this thing, see what he thinks of it too. But so far, so good. And folks, Don't forget to keep checking, because pretty soon Patreon and WordPress are going to be opening up for me. I know I keep talking about it, but I just want to make sure that everything is going right, and I don't want to just ram the thing out there. I'm guessing that in August I'm going to be releasing this stuff. So Patreon and WordPress, and I'm really looking forward to bringing better content that way. And don't forget to stick around after this video, because there's going to be some range video of this firearm being fired. But before we do that, don't forget www.notjustguns.com, a great gun store in Mason, Michigan. Great guys to work with over there. Very good, very knowledgeable, and you can get practically anything you want through that store. And also don't forget to check out 14K Golden Pawn on the corner of Ford and Wayne Road. Everyone knows where that is. 14K Gold and Pawn. And I am too improper. My email address is right here as we're speaking. That's tooimproper@gmail.com. Right, and I will answer you, provided you're not being a petty little snowflake, and if I've got the time. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless America, and keep on protecting your families, yourself, your flag. It's honor. It's the patriotic thing to do, and it's the right thing to do.
Top three. I can't hit.